Welcome to Joy Meets World. I am Joy, and this is my podcast where I share my adventures traveling the U.S., visiting national parks with my dog, Quincy. As of February 1st, I have been traveling for 1 month and I hit the West Coast. So that was a big accomplishment. I left Joshua Tree to go to San Diego during our last episode, and I did arrive in San Diego. It was 160-ish miles from one end to the other. Took about 3 hours. It was a straight shot, not a bad drive at all. My Airbnb was right next to the city park in San Diego, which is a lot like any central park in a big city. It's called Balboa Park. And I was right across from the highest point in the park, so I could walk across the street, walk up the path to the highest point, see across the park, and then see down to the bay, San Diego Bay. So it was a really great spot. It was beautiful. It was lovely to be right next to the park, which was lush and green, as was all San Diego. And the water was so blue, so gorgeous. We had great weather the entire time, sunny and in the high 60s, low 70s. No humidity, of course, and blue cloudless skies. So we really enjoyed the weather and our time in San Diego. Balboa Park is one of my favorite spots in San Diego. And of course, I was only there for 4 days, so I only had time to visit kind of the top places on my list in San Diego. And I'm really glad I got to stay next to Balboa Park because I'm not sure I would have visited it otherwise, just because I don't know a lot about the city anyway. So I'm glad I got to stay next to it. We walked miles and miles, Quincy and I, each day. Balboa Park altogether is about 1,200 acres of park, and there's the main highway in San Diego runs basically through the middle of it, inside this deep canyon. So you don't interact with the highway at all. There's a beautiful bridge that's built over the highway, tall bridge, because it's a deep canyon. And so you can kind of see the highway below you at one point, but it's not bothersome, and it doesn't really impede any time you spend in the park. Balboa Park is where the San Diego Zoo is located. And I did not get a chance this trip to visit the zoo, even though it's world famous. It just didn't make it to the top of the list of the things I had time for. I do want to go back and see it because I've heard such good things about it. Balboa Park just has great walking paths. It has tons of just wide open lawn and green space. Has gardens. It's just a really nice space to go to hang out. And there were tons of people just picnicking, walking their dogs, reading, sunbathing, playing soccer, you name it. There were people there doing it. It also has museums and buildings and fountains, and you can get food there. It's really cool, and a lot of the buildings that are there have to do with the history of the park. So for a long time, when the park was first founded, it was just called City Park, and it was largely undeveloped. So this was in the late 1800s. But then in 1915 to 16, the park kind of won the contract to host this big event called the Panama California Exposition, which was celebrating the opening of the Panama Canal. And so San Diego was holding it in their park, and it needed to really just develop this park and make it appropriate to host a worldwide event. And so that's when a lot of it was developed. And it was renamed at that point for Spanish explorer Vasco Nunez. I'm going to say it again. Vasco Nunez de Balboa. I'm probably not saying that right, but he was the first first European explorer. He was Spanish. He was the first European explorer to see the Pacific Ocean from Panama. And so that's why the park is named Balboa Park. Again, it was just so beautiful and quiet, and just very walkable and a pretty city park. I also got to visit Waterfront Park, which is near the touristy area of San Diego. It's right on San Diego Bay, and there's a lot of hotels right there, a lot of restaurants. The USS Midway is there, which I did not get to see this time. And the Maritime Museum of San Diego is also there, which is just a collection of boats anchored at a specific place in the harbor. And you can go to the Maritime Museum, get tickets, and tour these different boats if you want. I did not do that. I sat at Waterfront Park, which is what it sounds like. Just a green space at the very bottom of San Diego, facing San Diego Bay, and just hung out there. I did get to see a lot of the ships, though, from my place on the lawn in Waterfront Park. So one of them was the Star of India, which is the oldest active sailing ship. So it's this beautiful old sailing ship that just looks perfectly restored and so beautiful. It was actually built in 1863. And yes, it still sails, apparently. And there was also a PCF Swift boat, which apparently was used a lot in Vietnam. The Californian is also there, and it's also an older boat, probably from the 17th or 18th centuries, and it's called the Official Tall Ship of California. To me, it looks very similar to the Star of India in its construction from around that era. So it was really cool to see the ship docked there. It was a beautiful, beautiful view. You could see the coast all around. You could look back and see San Diego. There were a ton of people there, just taking advantage of all the sights. A lot of tourists. So that was a cool experience. And on the way back to my Airbnb to Balboa Park, which was about a 30-minute walk from the waterfront, I stopped at a restaurant in Little Italy. So there's a dedicated area in San Diego called Little Italy. And believe me, if you didn't know, you could tell when you're walking through it because it smells wonderful. I'm sure that's how heaven smells. It just smelled so good. And the restaurant that I went into was Mona Lisa Restaurant and Deli. And oh my goodness, it smelled wonderful in that restaurant. I got a special pizza, their special pizza from there, not knowing what it was. I just thought it would be fun to try something new and get a pizza from Little Italy, and it is delicious. I will tell you, it's the heaviest pizza I've ever carried. I was shocked that it was so heavy. Don't ask me how heavy it was, but it did not feel like a normal pizza. And I walked with it all the way back to my apartment on a Friday night, and I was very hungry. And I ate it. The special pizza was definitely, there was pastrami, homemade tomato sauce, pepperoni, caramelized onions, and I believe at least 2 types of cheese, if not more, on the top. And so that explains why it was so heavy, but it was also delicious. And about 1 piece filled me up. So it was definitely worth getting, and I highly recommend. I also was able to go over Coronado Bridge to Coronado Island and went to the dog beach on Coronado with Quincy, which was great. It was a lot of fun to be able to take him there. The end of Coronado is Point Loma. And it's off limits to civilians because it is a naval base, Point Loma Naval Base. The beach on Coronado was beautiful. I've never seen a beach like this. It looked like there were gold flecks in the sand. I kid you not. If you go and look at my reel, or if the story is still up, it's amazing. It just looks like there's gold flecks in the sand everywhere. And what that actually is mineral mica. So it's just a mica that happens to be in the sand, but it looks like gold flecks. And it's so beautiful. You're just going to have to see it yourself. It's gorgeous. I've never seen anything like it. The water, we went in the water kind of up to our shins, and it was definitely cold, but not as cold as I expected. I don't know what the exact temperature was, but I mean, I could stand there for a few minutes and be fine and not get hypothermia. It was 70 degrees and breezy on the beach. I just had my shorts and flip-flops on and a sweatshirt, and it was perfect. So definitely would recommend going to Coronado. I would go back and stay there at any point. It looked like a fun little beach town, and just the cutest houses and a beautiful beach, of course. My final stop in San Diego was La Jolla, and La Jolla Cove, which was awesome. Also beautiful. I have no words for it. So we went in the morning, mid-morning, and lots of people out walking. It's also a tourist spot, you can tell. There's a ton of surfers out, ton of paddle boarders, swimmers, scuba divers who are obviously like taking classes on a Saturday morning. There's like groups of them. But you can literally just walk down these stairs in La Jolla Cove, and the water comes up to the stairs, and you can just go in the water. There's a lifeguard station right there as well. It has amazing views of the coast. You can see for miles the city and the mountains. So that's really cool to see. There were some birds nesting on the cliffs. Don't ask me what they were. I'm not a bird person. They kind of stank to me, to be honest. So I passed by that part. But all of the seals and the sea lions were out on the rocks sunning themselves because it was a beautiful day. And that was so fun to see. They were just laying in piles on top of each other, really still, and most of them had their noses in the air as if, I know that they were sunning themselves, but they're trying to get as much sun as they can. It was really neat to see them. I've never seen a seal or a sea lion up close, so it was really cool to see them. Quincy was with me. He, I don't think, understood. I don't think because they were moving, he could tell that there were animals there. I don't think he would have been a fan of the sea lions and the seals if they had been more active. He doesn't like strange noises from animals. So again, if you listen to a previous podcast, we ran into a mini donkey, and obviously donkeys make kind of strange noises, and he was not a fan of that. And I'm assuming the noises that the seals and the sea lions make would not be his favorite, and he would probably react poorly to that. But we didn't have that experience, so it was all good. My favorite parts about San Diego, where do I even start? It's probably my favorite city that I've been to so far in my life. It is just, the weather was beautiful. It was just it felt so comfortable. It wasn't too busy. There was never any traffic that I saw in the city. The people were nice. It was easy to get around, very walkable, beautiful. Just the water was beautiful. The weather was beautiful. Just the lushness of it. it has palm trees and cactuses and flowers, and the grass is so, so green. It looks fake how green it is. So I just loved everything about San Diego. And I would 100% go back and recommend you take a trip there and see it for yourself. Next time when I go, I'm definitely going to do more of the touristy things. And make sure I have enough time to do them. The zoo, the USS Midway, do some dedicated beach days and spend some time on the beach, maybe get a kayak at La Jolla Cove. Just like spend more time at the places that I only got, an hour or two at this trip. I don't know where I would stay next time because I loved every single place that I went to. I would stay by the park again. Absolutely loved it. I would stay on Coronado. I would stay at La Jolla for sure. So it's going to be difficult for me deciding where to stay when I go next time and recommending that. I think any of those places would be amazing spots to spend your time in San Diego. So let me know if you're planning to go, if you're inspired to go, if you have been to San Diego and loved it just as much as I did. You can leave comments on my Instagram page at Joy Yugi. I would love a follow. I would love for you to tell me about your trip to San Diego, your trip to the coast of California. You can also rate and review this podcast. That helps it get out there to other people who might be interested in the national parks or in traveling. You can follow me on YouTube. These videos are on there if you'd rather watch than listen. And it's all under Joy Yugi. That's it for now. Next up, I am back to my national parks tour. I'm going north a couple 100 miles to Channel Islands National Park in Ventura, California, which is north of LA, south of Santa Barbara. It's about 200 miles. Should take me 3 to 4 hours to get there. And until next time, I wish you happy travels wherever life is taking you.